potential. How necessary is it that you know the important place in your consciousness that this faculty, faith, occupies? Well, you are the free will, the directive capacity that can direct your faith. Now is the time to bring it forth. Peter, or faith, has the capacity to look within or to look without, to be balanced or not. We must find a way to balance our faith. Finally, he says, well, I'll come to the final part in just a minute, but let's back up. If you remember, Peter, right at the moment he saw Jesus, he did something really silly. He jumped in the water. He really didn't know, do I go run in the direction and just literally try to get to him, or do I hide? It's sort of like the saying, Jesus is coming, look busy. You've heard that old cliche. He literally didn't know what to do. He represents our faith. Anytime we find ourselves in a situation where we're being called higher, called into something new, it's normal and natural that we would not know, do I want to go in this direction or that direction? Have any of you ever done that before? Sure you have, absolutely. When it was time for me to go into meaning I really finally made up my mind I was going to apply to become a Unity minister. I told some of the story last week about how I started being called, and I finally reached a point and said, I am miserable and I know I need to be in ministry. I don't know how that's going to look, and I made the decision to apply, to send in my application to become a Unity minister. I was standing on my faith. But my faith was wavering. And so the universe has a sure way of having that play out for us. Well, what happened was I got a letter back that said, at this time we can only receive 40 candidates in our Unity Ministry program. You are number 41, and so you're on standby. So I went to my minister and talked to my minister at the time, and my minister said, I've never heard of that. We need Unity ministers. This is dumb in my opinion. And I thought, well, that's a lot of help. That didn't really help. Okay. So I went home and I did just like Peter. Part of me said, well, that just shows me right there. I'm not supposed to be a minister. I'm just going to forget it. I don't care if they do call me. I'm not even going to go. And some days I did that, and then the next day I'd say, no, I think I really need to get clear about this. I waffled back and forth for one solid week. And finally, on Friday morning, I really spent time in deep prayer and meditation, and I got clear, and I said, you know what? My faith is not in Unity. It's not in Unity's ministries program. It's not in what anybody else says. My faith is inside of me, and something is calling me, and it's calling me to let go of my current life. It's calling me to step out and put myself in a new direction, and I'm going to do that one way or another. And I reached peace about it. I got a hold of my faith, and I directed it all in this direction. When I got home that afternoon, the light was flashing on my message machine. And it was the dean of the university who said, Darlene Strickland, guess what? Someone canceled today. We have an opening for you. Would you like to come to Unity Village and try out for the ministerial program? And I said, yes. I was so excited. And then everything in me said, yeah, but you're the dumbest one there. All 39 are smarter than you. And then you don't even know for sure. I think 21 or 23, I don't even remember, of the 40 of us got in. It was a faith walk every step of the way. And so it is with you. So it is with me every single day of our life. The way that the story ends, Jesus finally has a conversation with Peter. He calls faith out. And he said, do you love me? Yes, I love you. Do you love me? Yes, I love you. Do you love me? Now, Peter started to get irritated. Yes, I love you. But how many times did Peter deny the Christ? 3 times. You see, this was this beautiful act of balancing, of saying, okay, faith, you stand in that place that has the capacity to deny your calling, to deny your gifts, to deny your truth, to deny yourself the willingness to go forward. Or You have the capacity to recognize the Christ in you and in others. You have the capacity to recognize love. You have the capacity to reach for and be and move in the direction of love. Which direction will you go? Now that's the end of the story. And what it means for us, it's a profound message the Sunday after Easter, because it says, okay, we get really excited about this story, but now it's time for us to put it in context. Otherwise, so what? So what does it mean? Cerny, would you give me that song? So how do we go from here? We absolutely have faith. The question is always simply, how is it directed? The first thing that we can do in the day in and day out of our life is to recognize Christ. What is Christ? We talked about this a lot last week. It is your indwelling spirit. It's your true nature, your true identity. It is Christ to you is what the pattern of the oak is to the acorn, and so much more. It is that part of you that will not let you deny the truth of who you are, that will call you higher and deeper, that calls you into the hero's journey over and over and over again. As a daily practice of recognizing this in our own life and in others, it begins to become more natural. It's an act of faith to recognize it. Let us affirm together, I recognize Christ in me together. I recognize Christ in me. Number two, to remember that your faculty of faith, you have faith, and you have the capacity to direct it. There's a Native American a story about a grandfather with his young grandson, and the grandson said, Father, I want to be like you. I want to be a man of faith, a man of God, a great man. But yet I struggle. It's as if I have a black wolf and a white wolf inside of me. It's as if these two wolves are always fighting. That there's a part of me that wants to be love and be good and do the things that I should do. And then there's a part of me that wants to be everything but that. What do I do, grandfather? Grandfather said, everyone has those two wolves. The question is, which one are you feeding? Faith is, how are we directing it? What are we feeding? And what is feeding our faith? Number one is I recognize the Christ. And number two is I feed my faith in the presence of love together. I feed my faith in the presence of love. And that's ours to do. No one else can feed our faith. Number three is to remember that the landscape where this will take place, the landscape where you will blossom into the potential of your full becoming, is right in front of you. It couldn't be any closer. It's probably not going to show up like some call to go somewhere you've never heard of. Most likely it's in the subtleties of your everyday life, and yet those hold the key of revealing whatever it is you're seeking. I recognize it in my everyday life together. I recognize it in my everyday life.